What if the biggest mistake in investing wasn't picking the wrong stock, but simply doing too much? Every day, millions of people convince themselves that working harder at the market means winning at the market. Checking the charts more often, trading more often, reacting faster than everyone else. It feels like effort should be rewarded. So today we're going to follow three men who start with the exact same money and the exact same goal, but choose three completely different ways of getting there, and see where each of them actually ends up. Stick around because you'll probably recognize yourself in one of these three men. Three men, same age, same job, same paycheck, same starting line. 30 years later, one of them is worth almost $2 million more than the other two combined. And the man who wins isn't the one who worked the hardest. He's the one who barely lifted a finger. Meet Marcus, Derek, and Nathan. All 30 years old. All earning $80,000 a year. All putting exactly $1,200 a month into the market, every single month for the next 30 years. Same income, same amount invested. The only difference between them is what they actually do with that money. Marcus wants to beat the market. He wakes up before sunrise, studies charts over coffee, and is at his desk before the opening bell. He buys and sells constantly, sometimes a dozen times in a single day, chasing every small move he thinks he can predict. To Marcus, sitting still feels like losing. Derek takes it slower. He's a swing trader. He holds a position for a week, maybe a month, riding a trend until it fades, then hunting for the next one. He's not glued to his screen all day like Marcus, but he checks the market most evenings and trades a few times a month. Nathan does almost nothing. He puts his $1,200 into one low-cost fund that tracks the entire US stock market, and then he closes the app. He doesn't pick stocks. He doesn't watch charts. He doesn't try to time anything. He just buys every month on autopilot. At a backyard barbecue, Marcus has stories. Derek has opinions about where the market is headed next. Nathan has nothing to say because "I bought the fund again" isn't exactly a conversation starter. But feelings and math are two very different things, and over the next 30 years, the quiet one is about to prove everyone else wrong. In the early years, Marcus looks like a genius. He catches a hot streak and screenshots his best days for the group chat. He talks about being up for the month, about having an edge, about actually doing something while his friends just sit there. Every winning trade feels like proof he's cracked the code. Derek is quietly doing fine too. Some trades work, some don't, and he's roughly keeping pace. Nathan's account, meanwhile, just ticks up a little, drifts down a little, and grinds slowly higher. No drama. No screenshots. But here's what Marcus can't see yet. Every winning trade he closes is taxed that same year, at his full income rate. Every trade cost him a sliver in fees and spread. And the losing trades never make it to the group chat. Then Marcus has the year that convinces him he's unstoppable. The market runs hot, his trades line up, and he posts an incredible 12 months. He beats Derek. He beats Nathan. He beats the market itself. He starts seriously considering quitting his job to trade full-time. But the following spring, the tax bill arrives, and every dollar of that gain is taxed like a paycheck. By the time it's settled, most of what he made has handed itself right back, split between losses and taxes. That great year wasn't the beginning of something. It was the peak. Marcus just doesn't know that yet. Here's what the research actually says about this. When you hold an investment for over a year before selling, your profit is taxed at a lower long-term rate. But sell within a year, like nearly every trade Marcus makes, and it's taxed as ordinary income, the same rate as his salary. For someone earning $80,000, that's roughly a fifth of every winning trade handed straight to the government before it ever gets the chance to grow. And the odds themselves are brutal. Large studies tracking retail day traders have found that fewer than 1 in 100 consistently make money after costs. Other research shows the vast majority of active traders lose money outright, and the most frequent traders tend to underperform the market by several percentage points every single year. Not occasionally, every year. And that's before counting the quiet leak of fees and spread on every single trade, which alone can eat away several % of an account annually. So what about Derek, the calmer one? He looks safer, and in some ways he is. He trades far less often, so his costs are lower, and he's not chained to a screen all day. But the two big problems don't disappear. They just shrink. He's still holding most positions under a year, so most of his gains are still taxed at that higher rate, and he's still trying to guess when to get in and out, something the data shows most people simply cannot do reliably. Derek bleeds less than Marcus. He still bleeds. Now here's the honest part. A tiny sliver of traders really do have genuine skill, and if someone insists on trading anyway, doing it inside a tax-advantaged retirement account removes the biggest leak entirely. There's also a real psychological pull to trading. Doing something feels better than doing nothing. That's a fair human impulse. It just shouldn't be funded with money meant to build your future. So why does Nathan, the guy doing nothing, keep pulling ahead? He almost never sells, so his money compounds untouched for decades instead of getting taxed every April. He owns one fund with almost no fees, instead of leaking money to hundreds of trades. And historically, roughly 9 out of 10 professional fund managers, people who do this full-time with entire research teams, fail to beat a simple index fund over 15 years. If the professionals can't win that game, the odds for Marcus were never good either. Run the actual 30-year numbers and the gap is staggering. By year 10, Marcus is around $140,000, Derek is near $160,000, and Nathan has already pulled ahead at just over $200,000. By year 20, Nathan has crossed $700,000 while Marcus is still under $350,000. By year 30, Marcus finishes around $550,000. Derek finishes around $850,000. And Nathan, the man who never opened the app, finishes with roughly $1.9 million. More than triple what the hardest worker of the three ever built. Now count the one cost nobody talks about: time. Marcus spent close to 2,000 hours a year glued to charts, which over 30 years adds up to the equivalent of an entire second career. Derek spent a few hundred hours a year, still a couple of full working years total. Nathan spent about 4 hours a year making his purchase. Over 3 decades, that's roughly 3 total working weeks. The man who worked a second full-time job finished last. The man who spent 3 weeks finished first, with well over $1 million more to show for it. So what actually works? Build the bulk of your wealth in low-cost, broad index funds. If the itch to trade is real, wall off a small slice, no more than 5% of your portfolio, and keep it inside a tax-sheltered account so it can't damage the rest. Measure your results honestly against the index, not against your best week. And count your time as a real cost, because it is one. The market doesn't pay you for effort. Most of the time, it pays you for patience.